Hey, football heads. Nobody's in here yet, but we'll share the link to the Hey Football Head group chat here shortly. September, week 1 of the NFL's in the books. Fantasy football is back. Welcome. I'm your commissioner, Tim Dowling, here with my vice commissioner, Alex McCauley. You're getting full names out here. How's it going, Alex?
Going great. I just sent out the link in our chat to, of course, thechatternetwork.com. Happy to be back for, I don't know, what, season 4 or 5 probably of doing this podcast, like under this official branding of Hey Football Head.
Under the
Maybe
branding is probably like 3 years.
3 or 4.
Yeah, 3 or 4, maybe probably 3 years, I would say. But we've had this league going for a decade long. We've had the podcast going for at least the last like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, at least. I mean, we're kind of that's like the first pod, right? Like, I don't know how many other homies in the league participate on any of the other Chatter Network shows or listen to them, but this is kind of the one that started it all. So it's fun that we keep on doing it. And what was so great, as soon as the draft ended this year, and we'll get to the draft, but the homies were like, when's episode 1 dropping?
Yeah, I know. We finally got our own league members to follow us on the podcast, since half of the league has been a co-host at some point. You just dropped the link in the wrong group chat, so I put it.
I sent it to you and Max. Yeah.
And then I shared. So
perfect.
I guess we could probably put it on social media too, but honestly, I'm just doing it for the 11 other guys, and I commit as commissioner. I'm really just doing it for the 11 other guys. I'm not in it for me. Believe it or not, I'm not in it for me. I don't care about winning. I just want to keep these 11 gentlemen, best friends of my life, loves of my life, you 11 gentlemen in my fantasy football league, enjoying it, enjoying football, enjoying brotherhood. Huh?
That's
for me. I'm your commissioner.
Yeah, right. That's good of you to say, because I feel like consensus.
It is good of me to say.
Yeah, because I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the league members are like, he's here for 6 of us.
No, I'm here for Lou in Arizona. I'm here for Camille in Nevada. I'm here for y'all in Tacoma, which is all of them. I'm here for even Red, the owner.
Who?
Nick Anderson. He's won the league. He's been the skunk. He lives in Seattle. I'm here for him too, even though he sold the management of his team to Andy last year. Something else that's new this year, though, Max is back. Max is back in the league. He kind of like there he is.
I never left.
Oh, you wanted to.
Yeah. You did this thing. You did the backstage. You were the producer of the team last year.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the producer's got to come in and fire the director.
Did not work. Yeah. It did not work. Safe to say.
Anything to say about Derek?
He's terrible at fantasy football. Absolutely horrendous. And I hope he's doing well.
Wow. Shots fired. Derek over at Silver Screams podcast.
And he's gone. And Max is gone just like that.
Yeah, just shots fired at Derek. Derek, thank you for participating in the Homies Fantasy Football League. I'm sorry it didn't work out between you and your co-manager, team owner. But if anyone out there would love to get into this the most prestigious fantasy football league in the country, feel free to hit any of us up through the socials. Hey Football Head on Instagram. Leave a comment in the YouTube. If you want to get into this league, many league owners are willing to,
at least co-manage, I would say.
At least co-manage, probably receive a couple donations and let you maybe make a lineup choice or something, huh? Maybe someone out there is like, I want to be on the team. I'll sell my team. I'll sell it. I'm not like, as far as a management goes. You want to pay me $100 to set my lineup this week? I'll listen.
Right. I don't know if there's room for 2 desks in the Oval Office over there, though.
I'm just trying to make some money. Commission's broke. I bought
Well,
a new belt last year. That's
I was
another thing
gonna-
that's new this year.
And then you shipped it halfway across the country.
Yeah, so here's more evidence I'm doing it for the 11 guys, okay? When I won the league, I took some of my winnings. I bought a whole new championship belt out of my fucking pocket. And then Lou wins the league. He lives out in freaking Arizona desert. And I spent my own hard-earned money, send that championship belt out there. Okay? My money.
I do want to know.
The question is, are we ever going to see that belt again?
That is a risk that I was willing to take. I did think that when I mailed the belt out to Lou. Lou doesn't say much, especially nowadays. But Lou and I, and all of us go back with Lou to childhood, okay? And I would like to think that driving him to school every goddamn day for 2.5 years in high school would at least earn me a little bit of loyalty, would mean something. And this guy can send the belt to the next winner. So something else is different.
Oh, fair.
The winner's going to keep the belt.
I just want to know, has Lewis done anything to the belt? Has he flipped it over and seen the engravings? He needs to leave some kind of mark on it.
No. You
don't think so?
With the old belts, sure, that thing was a piece of junk. This new belt is heavy duty, legit. I don't think anyone should be vandalizing or defacing it.
I carved my name in it.
No, you didn't. You're confused, sir.
I'm not confused.
You are confused. I have the old belt with. No, I bought a new belt last year.
Last year?
Yes.
This is the one with the big Velcro strap.
I bought 2 belts for this fucking league. I'll get them.
Oh no, he's disappeared into the White House.
Watch out for Nancy Pelosi.
Okay, now what's on the back of this belt? What's on the back of this belt? Okay, is my name written on there from like 2022?
Yes.
Oh.
Can't see it. So I bought this is like the $80 belt, which was cheap. And I bought like a $150 belt.
With the Velcro, right? With the
God damn it, that one's got Velcro. I got a new belt. It's got buttons.
Ay. Okay.
There's an even nicer new belt. All right, anyways. Welcome back to Hate Football Head, where I'm going to yell in your ear for an hour.
Fantasy's so back. Yeah.
We had a great draft.
Amazing
Something
draft.
unique about this league I say every year is that I don't know what's going on with my computer again. Am I here? Can you hear me?
You're here.
Probably put some fresh oil in your computer. Rev it up a couple times.
Yeah, it's running out of gasoline.
Damn, dude. I'm scrolling through my phone trying to find pictures of you giving me the belt that I thought was our new belt, and I can't find them. In Commish, I trust. In Commish, I trust.
Easy. Yeah, you can just say, I was wrong, you were right. And then.
Okay. I don't know if that was common knowledge that there's been 2 belts purchased.
Well, it is now.
Okay.
Well, Lou did send a picture of the new belt, and it is it's quite nice. Anyhow, something that's been unique about our draft over the years is our emphasis on the running backs. And for new listeners, you might not know it's a 12-person league, half PPR. We do have an individual defensive player as well. A lot of the times we emphasize running backs, and because it's a shallow position, common knowledge. This draft went a little different. I feel like a lot of people drank the Kool-Aid on the mock drafts. It's also the trend on a lot of ESPN rankings and among other just fantasy football in general that, we're throwing the ball more. These wide receivers are having historic seasons. There's more elite.
Well, more stud running backs have now found themselves in committees.
Timeshare. So there's less bell cows.
Yeah.
Great point. But despite that, the last 2 or 3 years still, we were like pretty much running back like 7 out of the 6 or 8 out of the first 12. Like there's probably 3, 4, maybe 5 wide receivers this year. Max, go ahead and pull up that draft recap if you can. I got Saquon at 8. There it is. Oh, it's team by team. Interesting. But yeah, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, There we go. Thank you, sir. So running back, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 wide receiving row, 5, 6. So I guess
it's a 50-50 split though, but I don't think we've had a 50-50 split maybe ever.
Yeah, maybe it's not quite as many as I thought.
I don't know. I think it's always been 50-50. I think half of the first round is always running backs. Half the first round is always wide receivers.
There's definitely been years though where like Kelsey sneaks into the first round, and that throws the numbers off a little bit.
I didn't feel like there's as many wide receivers, but I could be wrong. We have to go look at years past. But anyhow, this is what our draft recap looked like for round 1. I just feel like no real surprises here. No names jump out that are like, oh wow, I can't believe like that was a reach. Like I think we just kind of followed the auto draft here.
Yeah. I think if you do it over again, obviously after week 1, there's probably a few changes. I think that a few players I'd never really understood their ADP going into this year, and now this is real easy to say since he's now been placed on IR, but like Puka Nacua, after just 1 year being considered like a top 10 wide receiver, was always a bit perplexing to me. Like I need to see more personally before I draft a guy and put that much stock
in the second round.
Yeah. And also too on some mock drafts, he was going above. Like you look in our league, I think that some folks that drafted like Mike Evans and Devontae Adams and even maybe Garrett Wilson ahead of him were thinking that same thing, because I'm sure on ESPN's format, at least, Puka was actually rated higher than some of those guys. But our league members were also thinking he's here, he's available, but I'm going to go with somebody a little bit more proven like Mike Evans or Devontae Adams. And in Devontae Adams' case, especially even if the quarterback is a bit questionable, Puka's just he's kind of an unproven commodity at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I would also say Nico Collins and Drake London fit that bill. I can't believe Drake London's a second-round pick here.
Yeah, correct.
With Jahmyr Gibbs, I mean, that was your first-round pick. Was he I don't think he was a first-rounder last year.
No, I don't think he was either. There was a lot of I think he finished the year as a top 5 running back, though, if you look at like the last 10 or 12 weeks of this season, however. And so he's a guy that catches a lot of passes. I was hoping that I'd be able to pair him with someone like Travis Etienne, who also catches a lot of passes out of the backfield, so that by not picking a wide receiver with my first 2 running backs, by not picking a wide receiver with my first 2 choices, I get running backs that maybe together can get me 80 to 90 catches throughout the year.
Yeah, that's a smart choice, especially when you're right on the turn there. Christian McCaffrey, that's his consensus number 1. Obviously, a lot of owners got screwed in week 1. Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson, 2 running backs who are simply bell cows, volume, which is rare. Mm-hmm. But I'm sorry. The Jets,
unproven still.
Yeah, unproven. Atlanta, those offenses aren't great. But then you got Saquon down at 8. I was shocked. Couldn't have gone any better. Saquon at 8 in Philadelphia. Saquon, the most talented running back physically in the league, on the best offensive line in the league, and from a good team, good offense. How does Saquon fall to 8 to me? How?
That's a little bit perplexing. And same with Justin Jefferson. Like, I don't know if necessarily, say JJ McCarthy doesn't get injured, I don't know if he climbs a whole lot higher, but like if Kirk Cousins is still his quarterback in Minnesota, I also don't think that he falls all the way to 12. So that's another one where the talent is there, obviously, but he might almost be the wide receiver version of what we're talking about right now with Bijan Robinson and Breece Hall. Now, Sam Darnold looked really good in week 1. They did play the Giants, however, though, and I think that the Giants and the Panthers this year, and we can talk about this a little bit later, but I think those are going to be 2 defenses that offenses really show up against this year. So could be a bit inflated, the numbers from the Minnesota offense last week. They looked good. However, I just don't know. I don't know how many snaps the Vikings are going to have every single week. Like it's not going to be the Kirk Cousins offense that was getting 60 to 70 plays a week. It might be closer to 50 to 60 plays a week.
You can at least get away with drafting wide receivers on shittier teams because they're going to be throwing the ball more in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
Your running backs really do have to be on good teams. That's why I'm a little bit surprised to see Josh Jacobs and Derrick Henry fall to the really back half of the second round when, like, I mean, you explained your rationale for Gibbs and Travis Etienne, which are both on good offenses and they catch passes.
Mm-hmm.
Like Kieran Williams at number 2, Blaine, when you still have like Pacheco on a great offense or Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, like I mentioned, that's a head scratching pick when you look at the other running backs on the board. Yeah, because like Derrick Henry, granted he's older and it's all about Lamar, I think it's still a good situation when that position is so low. We can move on to round 3 and 4 as our astute producers moving us along, which I appreciate. Actually, can you pop in here? Can we get him back? Can you get producer Max back? Yeah.
What's up?
What would you grade your draft?
A+.
All right, thank you.
I hate to do it. I would give it an A+.
All right, cool.
I do think there's good value here throughout the third round. Oh, are you back?
I thought.
Nope, get out of here. Okay, Max gets an A. I mean, I don't think Max had a bad draft. Max had a great draft. It's just
I don't either. Max,
It's not going to be the same team.
Listen,
if you have a
I
good
will
draft,
say-
most points.
This is the most prepared I've ever been at the draft, the most research I've ever done, the best I've ever felt out of a draft. So yeah, A+.
good for you. Did your homework. This guy, I've never seen him so disciplined.
Yeah. But a lot of good value here with some running backs, right? Like you see James Cook. He's not going to have 100% of the
I like
workload,
A-Chain
of course.
a lot.
But yeah, and a chain, like guys who are on good offenses that
Kamara.
will get 60 to 70% of the carries. Kamara's another big one. Had a huge week 1. And I
Joe
don't.
Mixon in round 4.
I was gonna say, and I haven't even said Joe Mixon's name yet because he's over in round 4. He might be the steal of the draft.
Possibly. We'll see, week 1, it's overreaction week. But yeah, certainly after the week 1 performance, it doesn't look like, it looks like a bell cow over there. Damian Pierce, remember when he was like a second round pick like 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Obviously a very talented, good offense in Houston, which is important.
Let's be fair. He was a second round pick for the Chunder Achievers.
That's fair. Yeah.
People were saying he was a second round pick.
People were saying that. So granted, he believed the hype. I like Diggs at the end of the third. That's a good one too. We'll move along.
Yep. This is where you start to see, some tight ends, quarterbacks go off the board. You did a great job. For those, I know there's only a few of the homies who weren't there live in person. Let's see, was it 2 years ago or last year? Kind of a lackluster turnout. Loved seeing all the homies over at Morgan and Danielle's home a couple weeks ago for the draft. That was awesome. God, was it maybe just a week ago? It was like a week ago tonight.
It was literally a week ago.
Whoa.
It was
like
literally 1 week ago.
It was like we've already been doing this way too long. But that was awesome. There was like 8 or 9 of us there. And you yourself, you were like narrating the draft in real time. And so when this run of like tight ends and quarterbacks started to happen, you were hyped. You were taking us through it.
I love the draft. I love draft day, one of the best days of the year. Everybody loves it. It's the most important time for your fantasy football team. And I commend Max and everyone else out there who's done their homework and takes it seriously. Too many people show up to these drafts. And God forbid, if you're listening to this right now and you fucking auto drafted, get the hell out. All right. We're not talking to you. This is not the fantasy football podcast for you if you freaking auto draft. Okay. We don't accept that. Sorry. That's one of the rules in this league. You'll get automatically booted if you auto draft. Mm-hmm. That being said, I love the draft. I love the people in the room. We had 10 out of 12 managers there. The 2 not being there were out of state. Shout outs to the Chuns, friend of the podcast, friends of us. Obviously, Danielle did a great job with some the food provided and the hospitality. But I loved narrating. You know how I get on my little rants here, like I just did about the auto draft. So I was going off about, I have an opinion. That's why I have a podcast about fantasy football.
And kudos to our skunk who served his skunk punishments at the draft.
Matt did a great job, and it was his second time being the skunk, and he did a lot better on the national anthem, I thought, this year. Acapella style, which I appreciate. And it showed. So it was a great draft. And if I were to grade my own personal draft here, Najee Harris in the 5th, what round was that? Go up there. Someone was giving me shit for that. I think that's a great value pick too. I'd give my draft like a B plus.
I mean, there's a lot of good value in here, and obviously it's a little too early to tell if people like Malik Neighbors or DeAndre Swift,
Terry McLaurin,
like Williams, Terry McLaurin, who's already been traded. This is
how do we know what these guys are worth?
Well, some people are saying that the draft is won or lost between rounds 4 and 8.
People have said that.
People have said that, and so it's interesting to see how a few of these players just did not perform in week 1, because I think that whoever's saying that is correct, because you can't panic. These are some of the guys who you can't panic on, right?
Don't panic on these guys. We don't know after 1 week, but we'll scroll down. I don't want to look at these Terry McLaurin names anymore. Jake Ferguson in the 7th. I love how it's
in the end zone week 1. This
is great. This is where no tuds, all chuds really, really went wrong. When he's taking Bobby Okereke.
Just abysmal. I mean, that is one of the worst picks I have ever seen in fantasy football. And I've been playing fantasy football for over a decade. That is round 7 to take a linebacker on the New York Giants. I mean, you would think he would have been blacked out, because that's something stupid he would do. But he
was sober.
He was totally sober. The dumbest move I've ever seen. By far.
That is a huge storyline thus far after week 1. That the no tuds, all chuds, you guys probably don't recognize, but that's the Andy Stack. That would be our youngest member, just turned 30 this year. My little boy's all grown up, took over Red's team. And he had a great year last year. I think he got lucky in his draft, to be honest. Had a lot of hits in his draft last year, and it's propelled him to a 1 seed, early playoff exit. This year comes in totally panicked, totally scrambled, not prepared for the draft at all. He was wide-eyed. I think he had some beginner's luck. He's used to drafting in, the B League. No, sir.
Well, just look at these 2 rounds. Yeah, that's Bobby Okereke, and then in round 8, Romeo Odunze, who I believe is injured now. Oh man, just drive it home. Drive the point home there, producer.
I mean, the thing about IDP, and if you don't have an individual player, if you don't have a defensive player in your league, it's obviously going to be very deep, because you have all D-line, secondary, and linebackers to choose from. It's kind of just a fun little utility. A lot of people, it's obviously a position you can stream every week, and there's not going to be too much of there's not even really a clear-cut number 1 in the way that the standard scoring is for this. So it's not like there's a drop-off if you don't get freaking Bobby Okereke or Roquan Smith or whatever.
Right.
There's still so much depth. So it really is a waste. Damn it, Bobby also taken Zaire Franklin. That's another boneheaded one. So he starts the run of IDPs. Can't get locked in to that. But Bobby otherwise did a really good job on his draft. Be interesting to see what Eckler does this year.
This is my pick. This is my pick.
Tony Pollard.
The steal of the draft. That's the best pick of the draft. Of course, it goes to Mr. Scrapper here. Tony Pollard on a Titans team, even though the Titans are going to be ass, that's a good run scheme over there.
Well, it was
great pick.
It was tough for me between Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard, because I've rostered in a dynasty league Tajay Spears since he was drafted and held on to him, thinking that once Derrick Henry leaves town, because the writing had been on the wall for a few seasons now, that Tajay will finally be the guy. Tajay Spears goes just a few selections before, right there. Yep, at the end of the the 7th round that we're in.
Forced your hand.
And it made it real easy for me because I was leaning toward Pollard anyways. If they were both on the board, I can't necessarily say I would have gone Tony though, but it made it really easy, and they went after him aggressively in free agency this year. And so I figured, the Titans and Mike Vrabel, he's an old school head coach, right? And so like if you bring somebody in, it's for a reason. They're going to use him, and the carries were in, I think, like 70% favor towards Pollard last week. The yardage showed it. He got into the end zone. He's going to catch passes out of the backfield. And he himself, I've heard him, Tony Pollard, talk about how his last year in Dallas, he was a little bit injured. He's looking at this as like a chance to kind of get his career back on track. So excited to have him. Yeah, I won't go so far as to say I think I robbed the league blind or anything, but I do.
Sure, once again, way too early to tell. Week 1 performance.
Yeah.
But a good pick nonetheless with good value. I'd love to stay on this round over here on round 8 for a minute. There's a few guys I want to talk about. But to the point of Tony Pollard and kind of this, we like here on Hey Football Head, we're psychologists, and I think that's a big part of fantasy football. And what you're talking about with this guy having an edge on his shoulder, felt like he didn't do his best last year. He's on a new team with a fresh start. Those are like, maybe not in his case, but a new contract or a contract year. I know Najee Harris is on a contract year. Those kind of things are something to kind of look under the surface, look beyond the stats.
For sure.
I think that's probably a pitfall of some fantasy football players is, well, I'm super objective. I just look at the numbers. There's obviously merit to that for sure, especially when you want to remove your own emotional bias. But these are human beings. They're not just numbers, and they have emotions and motivations, obviously. And so I think you do need to consider that even week to week on lineup changes, but certainly in the draft when you look at team guys who are looking to bounce back on a fresh contract or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we talk about this with kind of revenge narratives too. When you have a weekly matchup between a player and their former team, more chances or more times than not, chances are that player is going to see like that player's teammates want him to do well against his former team. And so there might be a little bit more of a conservative effort to get, like, say the Commanders play the Chargers this year. They're going to try and get Austin Eckler in the end zone. You know what I'm saying? Like Zach Moss on Cincinnati. If Cincinnati plays Buffalo this year, they're going to try and get Zach Moss in the end zone.
Yeah. Eckler's been a real interesting one. And for him to fall to round 8 after he was a top 3 pick last year, a league winner the year before almost, or another top 5. He had a down year, and he's had a couple of those now in his career. But this is really the first time Austin Eckler's been out of round 1, and he free falls to round 8. Couple reasons, right? He's getting older. He's been more injured. And he's on a shitty team. But still, Austin Eckler takes care of he's just an undersized guy, but he's still strong as shit, like pound for pound, very talented. Does have PPR value, catch a lot of balls out of the backfield. So I bet he overperforms his ADP for round 8 here. Other guys on this list, I was not in love with my Zeke Elliott pick, but he did find pay dirt in week 1. Yeah. Maybe he'll have more of a role. I do wish that I could handcuff him with Rico. Also, I kind of wish I just stashed Nick Chubb also, maybe, if he's going to come back at any time this year. Don't really love Zach Moss in Cincinnati. Not sure. I mean, Cincinnati didn't play very well week 1, but
Zach Moss did get in the end zone though.
Yeah, and he is the number 1 there on what should be a pretty good offense. Keenan Allen, for a long time, Keenan Allen and Mike Evans felt like equals to me, but Mike Evans is by far the more consistent player. Keenan Allen, obviously, injury ridden throughout his career, so not always dependable. And then we saw that again in week 1 as well.
Max, talk about your rookie pick there, Brian Thomas Jr.
Well, he's a dog. He's a fucking dog. A
lot of mouths to feed in Jacksonville, though.
Yeah, I mean Thomas Etienne and Evan Ingram, but when you're going deep,
Gabe Davis, they got a few guys.
Gabe Davis, Christian Kirk, those guys are fucking toast. They're
okay.
they're white bread.
Fire and brimstone.
Brian Thomas Jr. comes from the long line of LSU wide receivers, Justin Jefferson, Odell Beckham Jr., fucking the list
Jarvis
goes
Landry.
on. Jarvis Landry, the list goes on and on. He's a dog. He made Jaden Daniels look really, really good enough to get picked second overall and win the Heisman in college. I'm telling you, Brian Thomas Jr. is gonna be fucking legit.
This was a good homework pick. Good job there. I have no idea who this guy is, so great job, Max. I did not do my homework this year. Excellent. Let's move on to round 9.
Yeah, let's just close out 9 and 10 here. Yeah.
Evan Ingram would have, he's still gonna, and I bet Rico is another one that you did some research on too, but then you dropped him. Anyways, J.K. Dobbins looks good for the Chargers. Chargers probably surprised some people. They're kind of, a lot of people are down on that team, but I think they'll be all right.
Another pick too, right? That just kind of makes sense. Like the numbers can tell you what the projections can tell you what the numbers say, but like J.K. Dobbins, who was a Baltimore Raven and played for one Harbaugh brother, now becomes
this is his chance.
He's a free agent and he goes to the team coached by another Harbaugh brother. That Jim and John were talking to each other and said, hey, again, J.K. Dobbins, he's a dog. Give him some playing time.
He's no longer
he's the new Austin Eckler. He's the new Austin Eckler in L.A.
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like they have different running styles, but sure, he's the new starting running back for the Chargers. We can say that. Let's
actually, he's not the starter. He's the backup to Gus Edwards, who also was a Ravens running back.
Okay, well, there'll be a 1-2.
And went to LA. But listen, as long as JK stays healthy, I mean, he's been a guy who's like been always touted as like this speedster. If he gets the ball in open field, he's going to score. He's just always gotten hurt. In round 9, that's a great time to take a flyer on someone like that, especially in a new place with Greg Roman, who was the offensive coordinator in Baltimore for so long when J.K. Dobbins had his most successful years. So, yeah.
This guy did his fucking homework, man. This guy did his fucking homework this year.
And
get out of your own way, though.
I want to talk about Rico. So I was very excited to get Rico in round 10. Right?
Go off, King.
He's supposed to be the next Tony Pollard. Then the Cowboys go out and they sign Dalvin Cook. And Dalvin Cook started on the practice squad, but he is going to be brought up in the next week or so. And so that if Dalvin Cook is, and I don't think Dalvin Cook is really cooked yet, he's under 30 or if not 30. And Rico did not see as much playtime as I thought he would, or at least as much production as I thought he would. And then dropping him for Jordan Mason because learning that Christian McCaffrey has an Achilles injury, not a calf injury, an Achilles injury that's going to last probably at least 2 months. That was the right move to do that. I also saw that Tim put in $25 for Rico. Then you canceled it?
Nope. So what happened there? John Frester, I believe in Rico. I do. I think that he is the heir apparent. I don't think that Dalvin Cook has much left in the tank. I don't think he's going to be doing much. I do think
got guys like Deuce Vaughn, but Deuce Vaughn's like 5'6", never going to be more.
I don't think Zeke's going to be doing much. That pick, I think Rico is the heir apparent to the Dallas backfield, and they have a good offense and they have a good offensive line. So I did put 25. I was like, sure. I mean, I feel like he's a future bell cow in that offense, and they've got a good offensive line, and I already had Zeke. So I felt like he's a little bit more valuable to me than to other players. This is where I got kind of screwed by the app, or my own mistake is that I had scheduled to drop Kenneth Gainwell. And so I had actually put in the claim before the Eagles game.
Friday.
Yeah. And so it stayed. And so because Gainwell had already played when the thing went through, it just invalidated my waiver move when I should have just dropped like Darnell Mooney or whatever. So didn't get Rico. Kefler got Rico for $1. Obviously, then week 1 happens. Zeke gets in the end zone. Rico doesn't have as many carries as we all think. But still, I think for the future, long term, throughout the season, Rico is going to be one to watch. What do you have?
Rostered in only 36% of leagues. So
8 carries, not a great average. split touches. Let's go to Tyler Algier. Is he going to be good this year? No.
Yeah, I mean,
He's
here's just
drafted
kind
right
of where
after JK.
here's where round 9 and round 10 start to kind of show a team's true colors, or a manager's true colors, I guess you would say, because you could be like Max, do the homework and know that J.K. Dobbins is in line for a heavy workload and probably if they can stay healthy, a good season. And then there's guys like Tyler Algier, who had a good year last year as Bijan was kind of finding his footing in the NFL, but I don't think the Falcons necessarily want to have a team where Tyler Algier is 35% of their backload or of their backfield workload. And so, yeah, he's a good handcuff, but in round 9, you really shouldn't be drafting handcuffs, I feel like.
Shitty pick once again. Just more evidence that Andrew shit the bed on the draft, and he
there's guys on here too where, like, you look down at the bottom here towards Cortland Sutton, 12 targets in week 1. Bo Nix looked like a rookie quarterback playing in his first NFL game, but 12 targets, I'll take 12 targets every day of the week. He only caught 4 passes, but say that increases.
Good sign. Yeah.
12 targets is a good sign. Jaden Reed looked like a league winner in week 1. And then Jordan Love gets hurt. However, it's not as bad as it seems. But like Lewis, if Lewis is still competitive when he comes back, Max, if you could pull up Jaden Reed's game from week 1, this guy's probably wide receiver 2 or something. He's wide receiver 1 after week 1.
Points.
Yeah. Just an explosive, like,
efficient game, 6 targets, 4 catches.
Yeah, he's a home run hitter. He anytime he touches the
ball.
And
he had a carry for 33 yards and a touchdown. That I think gives it a little bit more of a, shows his usage, which is great, but I don't know. I don't know too much about him. I'll have to watch some.
I'm just saying that drafting guys like that in round 9 or 10, as opposed to a handcuff, is like, that's drafting guys like Jaden Reed is the way to go. You want to go after guys that could potentially win you the league, regardless of if someone gets hurt in front of them or not.
Excellent point. Great pick, Lou. Okay. How many more rounds do we have here?
Let's just do 10. 11 through 16. I don't,
not much here. We're taking defenses. We're taking IDPs. Not much going on. Let's get into week 1 recap for our fantasy scores here.
Let's do it. A tough week for a lot of teams. I feel like a lot of teams underperformed. And I also don't know if any team really hit their ceiling aside from one. And it's interesting now because that team has a lot of question marks. And that would be Jordan Keffler, who led the league in scoring last week, but has some questions now. So yeah, it was an interesting week for sure.
Well,
I feel bad for Max.
Big disclaimer. Yeah. Week 1 overreaction week. We don't know anything yet at all. I've obviously analyzed some rosters. I've looked at the data as well. Mm-hmm. But overall, anything can still happen. So nobody should panic out there. Week 1 is a weird one. I would say it's especially weird when you really take in the human element of this sport and how many week 1 jitters there are. You're seeing running backs who are like, their feet are moving faster than their body and they're slipping on turf and shit. Like, it takes a while for these offenses. You saw it in the first half of the Seahawks game. The Seahawks game. Talk time. We're going to talk about the Seahawks because time for hot talk. The first half of the Seahawks game, the offense didn't do shit.
I was there, and I won't say that there weren't any boo birds, but there was a whole lot of groaning and moaning and hands and faces and people sighing. It was a tense place to be.
It was worrisome. If it wasn't for the outstanding performance of the defense, we would have been in some real trouble, I think. And it was historically bad offensive start. Like the first 2 series with holding penalties and interception. The safety, are you a phony? What the heck? But the defense played great. The defense was flying around. I love these guys who are fast, the 2 inside linebackers, the strong safety, and good tackling out of that as well. But the offensive line just looked lost without Abe Lucas for some reason. Mm-hmm. And then
George
halftime
goes
comes
down
around.
early.
Halftime comes around, and our brand new baby head coach gives some kind of rousing speech maybe in the locker room where they just figure it out behind closed doors on the offensive side of the ball and come out hot. So it's quite the turnaround, but that was kind of like had to calm the jitters, turn things around. Obviously, Denver's probably not going to be that great with a rookie quarterback, but I was proud of the way that the offense could totally turn things around like that. And what did you think of Geno week 1?
I thought that Geno looked pretty sharp on his passes. I feel like when he had time in the pocket, he was going through his progressions well. I thought that he wasn't trying to force the ball to DK. Now, of course, DK Metcalf, and if you're paying attention to the wide receiver cornerback matchups, Patrick Surtain II, one of the best corners in the league. So you knew that was going to be a tough matchup for him. So what did he do? Without guys like Kobe Parkinson, who's now on a new team, some of the familiar faces and security blankets that he's had in the past, went back to Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett leads the team in receiving yards and catches for the day. So that was really good to see. And then also just relying on not one, but 2 really good running backs. And so there were a few times where I know Geno changed the play at the line, option to a run play. And you know what's better than dropping back and taking the sack or throwing it incomplete because the coverage isn't what you like? Letting K9 fall forward for 5 yards. Like, that guy never goes backwards, it seems like. I feel like that was maybe a critique of his early in his career. And I know he's still very early into his career, but did a little bit of dancing. I feel like at the line of scrimmage this year, he was looking like at least so far, he's more confident in just trusting the blocking scheme, hitting the hole, and going north and south. So that was getting vertical. So that was really good to see. Charbonnet has kind of always ran that way. I really like whenever I see Zach go in the game. And so I thought the offense after that, really rocky first start, where like some of that is on them, like a holding penalty when you know you're backed up. Some of it's on the play calling, like shotgun handoff when you're on the 1 yard line. Like, no, we got to get our running back going downhill. If you're going to run the ball, put an extra, lineman in there, make someone tackle eligible or whatever. Don't give the running back literally 0 head start. So I think some of that was on the play calling. Some of that was on the Broncos, downing a punt in the 1 yard line, just making it really hard for us. So just some weird circumstances, but it was really good to see the way they responded, because even though I agree with you, the Broncos probably won't be a great team this year. In week 1 with a rookie quarterback, I think they were scrappy and just the right level of unpredictable to where they were kind of playing with house money, right? This wasn't like 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
It seemed like more of a Sean Payton's team.
Right, exactly. So I thought, yeah, offense and Geno looked good. I think Geno's always going to play with that like quiet swagger, with that chip on his shoulder, even though he knows that he's the guy here. It's not like there's ever going to be a quarterback controversy with him and Sam Howell, really. So that was good to see. But then just Mike McDonald, I mean, rotating so many different guys in on defense, like any single time that the Broncos let the Seahawks substitute and go into their huddle, McDonald was running 2 or 3 fresh guys onto the field. And so it was really cool to see. And I think that's why our defense looks so fast, because there was always fresh guys out there. Almost every single key new addition, Jerome Baker made an awesome fumble recovery. Dotson had double-digit tackles. Rayshon Jenkins was flying around. So a lot of new names. We're going to have to learn some names and numbers out there on our defense, but like these guys look really good.
That's why I love watching the Seahawks, is just like I'm having technical difficulties again.
We hear you. I hear you. You're a little choppy. Kamala's trying to cut the feed, but you look good. Maybe Max can jump in right here and talk about the Hawks.
What I loved about it is that even though we had such a shit first half and looked horrendous, we came out, we set the tone with that defense and got a quick 3 and out got good field position, and then as Alex said, just like pound the ball, pound the run. That's what we got to do. Keep giving it to Walker. Don't let his abs get hurt. But
I'm back.
You're just in time to hear Max talk about Kenneth Walker's abdominal muscles.
Yeah, we're worried about that.
I heard that. Well, I hear about running the ball. I've been a big proponent of that, and they finally. I thought Grubb had a well-balanced offense at UW, so it's surprised to see them pass as much as they did in the first round or the first half. And I love, I've been a little bit critical of Geno because he is so laid back and kind of like, dude, do you even care anymore? But a defining play of that game is his touchdown run in the end of the first half, and him just kind of taking control of the offense, taking control of the situation, finding his opportunity for the yards for a big play and pulling the trigger. It is surprising to see Tyler Lockett still involved, but he is such a reliable,
not that
historically reliable.
Tell you what, not that surprised.
Seahawk, because everyone does think JSN is going to usurp him eventually, but Tyler Lockett is one of these guys who's going to probably play for another 3 years.
DK Metcalf called him the greatest athlete in the world today at a press conference. We love to see.
He is very athletic.
A-Lock. He's just clutch. He's one of the best route runners of all time. Might be my favorite Seahawk of all time.
Okay.
I will say this, hearing you say that DK said that somebody who I've always been critical ever since drafting him is DK Metcalf, because I want us to stay away from having this Terrell Owens, Chad Ochocinco, Antonio Brown diva type of wide receiver on our team where yes, you can put up with a lot of it because the production's so great, but he was swinging helmets at his own teammates in training camp. And there was just I was nervous. I was nervous going into this season. And then he has a tough matchup in week 1 where he's not heavily involved in the offense, but he was doing the dirty work. He's always talked about how he enjoys blocking. You don't always see it when you watch the games and when you focus on him. He was enjoying the trench work against Surtain in that battle. And when his number was called on, he did his best to get open and make some plays. I know he caught a few passes, but he was going back to the huddle with good body language. Hearing him say something like that about Lockett is awesome. And so I'm enthusiastic about the DK Metcalf that we might have here in 2024, 2025. And maybe that's a new head coach. Maybe that's just him maturing as a player. Who knows? But it's good to see.
Okay, that we've talked about the Hawks for a long time. It's exciting for a new season with new head coach, new change of guard here in Seattle. I think we're off to as good a start as we could have hoped for. The defense looks amazing. That's what Mike Macdonald came in to do. Let's get into power rankings. Week 1. We didn't even get into week 1. We can do power rankings, actually. That kind of.
We can do power rankings. I mean, we talked about week 1.
Hey, the voice of. What is the name of the floating head in Power Rangers?
Power Rangers? I don't know.
Yeah.
Max. We'll just call it producer Max.
Show me what you got.
Max, I kind of like when you pull up the power, the things on the screen that we can both look and have, like you did for the draft recap. But I'll tell you, as you're pulling that up, no surprise here, number 12, we shit on him in his draft recap. We're going to shit on him again. He had the league low score, would be Andrew Van Camp, changed his name to No Tuds, All Chuds, because he did not score a touchdown this first season. So this is what I have to say to Andrew. I say you're going to be exhausted this season. It's not going to be fun. It will be work. You'll be frustrated. It'll be heartbreaking. And you're going to hate it. You're going to deflect it, but it's still going to hurt, bud. It's going to hurt real bad. And there's nothing you can do about it but grin and bear it. And this is how we're really going to test you this year and see how committed you are to being in this league. Because I know it was so fun last year.
Let me just say this too, and maybe this is a little get off my lawn kind of energy, or maybe it's just because this league's been going for so long and people don't normally do this, but not a fan of the mid-season, and we're into the season now, so it's a mid-season name change. Are you going to do this after every week? Are you just going to change your name every week once something happens? Yeah, I don't know. Not the way I run my fantasy team. Pick a name.
Yeah, I mean, there are some exceptions if your like namesake gets hurt or the player on your team, something like that. But yeah, this immediately after week 1, yes, it was poor. Yes, he's not feeling confident about his draft, but he's already kind of waving the white flag with the name change.
Right, but
Therefore,
like Jordan, I think
Jordan's
Jordan's going
long
to keep
season for you.
Jordan will keep Nakua Matata. Like, you have to do it in solidarity for your fallen brother.
True. Yeah, I mean, he was the Andy Stack. I feel like the Andy Stack was such a great name.
Yeah, it's a great name
that you just could have kept. You don't always have to change your name.
He's going to change it back now.
Or he will.
That's fine. Whatever.
Continue to troll, and he actually will change it every single week. But then that's part of what I'm saying here. He's deflecting.
Well, yeah, he's going to deflect because last year he thought he was so smart and that this league wasn't that good or wasn't as hard as he thought. Well, he's going to find out. That's 12. Number 11 is Skunk Boy Part Do, which would be Matt, who was our skunk from last year. He got absolutely railed in week 1 because Christian McCaffrey, there's not announced he's going to play until Monday night. So there's nobody else that he can pick up. Max poached the backup like he does. So he just loses his first player. But Matt is a tough son of a gun. He sure shot that 151 rum really well. He ate the hot wing well. He sang. He's such a good sport. But without Christian McCaffrey, I don't see, just looking at his roster, like is there any other hope here? And that's the pitfall of having the number 1 overall pick. And if he doesn't play, you're screwed. So
took the words right out of my mouth. Yep.
Sucks, Matt. But I do think your team is a little bit better than Andrew. And the thing about Matt is he is patient and he is crafty, and he's got good endurance for the year. And he's gonna find somebody on the waiver wire week after week. And he's not afraid also of like benching the big name or whatever. He's
not emotionally tied to his players.
Yes, which is such an advantage, and why he's won the league. He's won the league twice, and he's been skunked twice. What a interesting man in this. And he's been kicked out of the league, and he's been back. He's auto drafted. This guy has done everything in the league. Pretty crazy. Number 10, no stranger to the double-digit power rankings. Chun's going to round out our bottom 3. Chun, another, perplexing character in our league here. He does take Tyreek Hill in the first round. He did get Josh Jacobs, I think, in the 3rd round. Those are the only 2 guys on his team that I am entertained by at all. The rest are fairly boring, in my opinion. And
Josh Jacobs certainly takes a hit, though, with no Jordan Love now. That is a one-dimensional offense.
Yep. So, Sean, we'll see. It's going to be another battle for you. All these 3 teams lost in the first week. 0-1. And Chun did not score a whole lot either. I think he barely just scored over 100. Maybe he's still in the 88s at this point. We'll go to number 9. I believe the team name has already changed here, but who was Tank Bigsby? Now it is who is Tank Bigsby?
And now his name is Tank Bigsby.
His name is Tank Bigsby because Tank Bigsby. So Tank Bigsby is a guy that Blaine drafted last year, only just last year. Everybody knows now who he is because he had a great week 1. He's a running back in Jacksonville, had like 10 carries for 73 yards. It was kind of a joke because the name itself is Tank Bigsby is kind of like just a made up football name, right? But it's a real name. And it's a real person, and he's a good running back, apparently. I like to think that Tank Bigsby in our league is a little bit more than just a person. A little bit more
maybe he's an
idea.
Tank
the spirit animal. Is the spirit animal of a fantasy football player. So I know Blaine wasn't feeling extremely confident about his draft. There's a lot of doom and gloom for him, but he did draft Josh Allen. And Josh Allen had a monster week 1, and you can expect to get floated 30 points a game if he's on your team. I don't love the rest of his lineup, but he's got Eckler on his team. some decent wide receivers. I feel like this team's probably going to be like 4-6 or 6-12 or whatever, like just on a 500 and can upset some people. But I just can't see this team being a real contender at this point for who's on the roster.
Well,
Again,
yeah, I mean,
week one.
Right,
he is 1-0. He's 1-0.
He's 1-0, and he's another team that I feel like he scored 115 points, but he didn't have 115 points is good because it's not his ceiling. Like for some teams, like if maybe Morgan put up 115 or if Andy put up 115, where that was a ceiling performance. I feel like 115 from Blaine's team is not a ceiling performance because, Jackson Smith and Jigba he catches 2 passes. Tank Dell 3 catches for 40 yards. There's going to be weeks where those guys go off. Like AJ Brown did his thing, but that's kind of it really as far as guys who really went off except for Josh Allen. So it's a balanced attack.
Yeah, there's more points out on the board for his team to score. So again, it'll compete. I don't know if it'll contend, and there is a difference. Number 8, I got Nakua Matata, which would be Kefler's team. He did score the weekly high. He won his game. He's 1-0. He put up 144 points. Why is he only 8? Well, the Bears defense scores almost 30 points. Mm-hmm. Alvin Kamara does well. Brian Robinson Jr. does decently as well in week 1. But dang, Puka Nakua goes down, out for the season, the namesake of his team. I don't think that his team is all that great. Actually, the stat correction 141, or maybe I just thought it was 144. But he does have Lamar Jackson on his team, so he's going to score points there. I don't know how sustainable Kamara and Brian Robinson Jr. are. And Puka was his first RB or wide receiver. No, it wasn't. He's got Amon-Ra St. Brown as well, who had a low team. Maybe I'm being too tough on Kefler here. Looking at it now, and this is the joy of week 1. Maybe I move him up a bit more because Amon-Ra's going to bounce back.
Sure,
I'm just not sure.
But I mean, well, right. He got 50 points from his specialty positions, and now as somebody who loves production out of those bottom 3 spots, you can't count on 50 points each week.
Yeah. So inflated a bit, but he is 1-0. I put him at the 8 spot.
Mm-hmm. Rasheed Rice, great pick. Sounds like his off the field issues are going to be settled probably after the season. And so that's a great value pick along with Amon-Ra St. Brown, so maybe he fills a little bit of the gap that Puka leaves behind. So I still think that Jordan's got a pretty solid team.
Be all right. The Main Thing, which is the name of Lou's team, the Main Thing. And I think we're all missing something there on that team. Or that name. I feel like an old man. Like, what are the kids saying nowadays? Is the Main Thing like on TikTok? Is what we're saying now? The Main Thing? Is that a thing? Anyone?
I don't know. I got nothing. I've been trying to figure it out.
Not a fan of the team name. Regardless, he is 1-0. He gets the win over Chun, I believe, in week 1 here. Mm-hmm. Only scores 101 points, though. And with Garrett Wilson on the Jets, not looking too good. With Justin Jefferson having a decent game, but still Minnesota not that great. Spears, we were talking about Tony Pollard and Spears. Mm-hmm. Jalen Hurts does all right. David Montgomery does all right, but Kittle doesn't have a game. DJ Moore, just a very he did have Jalen Reed on the bench. Jaden Reed.
Right, but it's not one of those, Jaden Reed on the bench. It's one of those deals where it's like, dang, that would have been great to have him, but it's not like you're like, I got that production waiting for me in week 2 now.
Is he going to bench DJ Moore? Is he going to bench Justin Jefferson? Is he going to bench Garrett Wilson for Jaden Reed?
With Malik Willis throwing him the ball? No.
No, he's not. So that goes away. That's why I have him low. I'm just like, Jalen Hurts now with Saquon there is probably going to lose some rushing production.
Yeah.
Which floated a lot of his points. Montgomery's, on a good team. That's solid one. But Spears in Tennessee, that's not great. And we already had the critiques of these offenses. The Jets, Minnesota, and Chicago are not going to be that great of offenses. So, the defending champ might be missing out this year. We'll see.
Seems like maybe not to do any like revisionist history here, but it seems like you could probably have Jordan above Lewis in the power rankings right now.
Probably, and that's
I would probably have Jordan above. Yeah.
Yeah, looking at it now, I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm only human, folks. Number 6, I got myself. I'm 0-1, and I lost a close one on Monday night, really on the last drive. 49 defense gives up some garbage time points for me to lose by a couple points, but that's okay. Saquon looked great. I did swap my quarterback. If I kept Tua in, I probably would have won. But kind of a lower floor game for me, and I still put up 113. I can expect, Najee Harris had a good game, didn't get in the end zone. Devontae Adams did not have a great game, still got 8 points. Debo had a good one. Evan Ingram had 114 catches last year.
Yeah, he'll get his.
He's still a big part of that Jacksonville offense. Michael Pittman is still the number 1 wide receiver for the Colts, and Anthony Richardson is going to build a rapport with him. Mm-hmm. So I still like my starters, don't love my depth. I think I'm a middle-of-the-road team right now.
Not loving your depth after week 1, though, it might be a reflection of some things you wish you did differently in the draft. However, it frees you up to make some easy waiver decisions over the first quarter of the season.
Sure. Yeah, it's a good way to spend some positive light on it. Number 5 would be Colin Ballhogs, who beat me by a couple points. He's 1-0. He got Joe Mixon. He got Mike Evans. He had a big game from his defensive player, getting 16 points from him, which ended up being a big difference for the game. He's got Devontae Smith on the bench, Chuba Hubbard on the bench. He's got Nick Chubb waiting in the wings on the IR.
And Hollywood Brown. Yeah.
And Hollywood Brown. But Mixon and Mike Evans, just kind of some old guy love. They're still crafty vets getting it done.
Yeah. And I mean,
they stay healthy. We'll see.
We'll see. But we talked about how DK was going to have a tough matchup. We knew that going into week 1. And so even though he only gets 4.4 in week 1, it's not like you're panicking.
Yeah. And Jamar Chase, 10 points. And that's his floor, 10 points.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Great. Jamar Chase can be good. So Colin has a pretty good team, I think. We'll go into the top 4 now. I got a couple 0-1 teams here in the 4 and 3 spot. Damn it, Bobby, in the 4 spot here. This team has a lot of running backs that are actually pretty decent.
And Bobby would have beat like 75% of the league with
122 points and only 8 from Aaron Rodgers. So He's got Jonathan Taylor, Isaiah Pacheco. Cooper Kupp has 14 catches and a touchdown. Cooper Kupp is back. Ramondre Stevenson has 20 points. Kelsey only had 5. So there's still plenty of points he could. This is a more realistic floor. This is why I have him so high. And then on the bench, you've got Gus Edwards, Jerry Jeudy, Devin Singletary. So there's still some options there. I think he can do better than Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers is too old. I don't know. Call me ageist. He's not Tom Brady.
Also on the road across the country against the San Francisco defense.
That's tough.
Primetime game, week 1. Don't panic, but I be watching to see what other guys do for sure on the waivers.
I just think the problem in New York is the offensive line isn't that great. At least they're kind of built to run the ball, so pass protection is not going to be that great, and just Aaron Rodgers is not as mobile as he used to be, especially coming off an Achilles injury. So, Bobby, still think you're in good shape at 0-1. And then I got Brees be with you. I got a producer Max 0-1, loses an even closer game than I did by less than a point, by 0.48 points. He loses on Monday night, but still a very encouraging start. Welcome back to managing your team. You're obviously trying very hard. Don't try too hard. What do you have to say for yourself after week 1?
Hey, listen, to lose by less than a point and play the best team in the league historically, tough like that, then I feel great. Feel wonderful. Coming out of the draft, I got like the top 6 targets that I had in my draft strategy. So things are good. Able to pick up Jordan Mason as well for $1 over the week. And then, just made a trade that I think is the right trade.
We'll get to the trade. We'll get to the trade.
But yeah, love the team. Love the team. We're excited to go into week 2.
You've got great depth. I mean, so Breece Hall does well on what I would say is a floor performance. Still gets near 16 points, has a fumble. CJ Stroud, as we know, is a stud in a great offense there. He's going to be solid for you all year. Ken Walker has a good game. Yes, he gets injured. We'll get to that later. Jalen Waddle's good. You make a trade. Terry McLaurin, you're not happy with his 2.7. Also, another injury, Ferguson, injury with a chain off of week 1, but still had a good game. Dallas's defense has been good, 19 points. That helps. But here's the difference for Max this year. It's on the bench. We talked about Brian Thomas Jr., has 12.7 and a touchdown. You can plug him in. You got J.K. Dobbins with 21.4. You can plug him in. You got Jordan Mason, like we said. Given CMC's availability, you can plug him in. Mm-hmm. So there's still some room to make some more moves. I mean, Jordan Love's got hurt. So you've already been hit by injuries and you just keep trucking. So that's what is impressive to me so far, even after week 1. I just hope you don't freaking overdo it.
Never can be over-prepared, Tim. Never can be over-prepared, Commissioner.
I made this comment to you Sunday night when we were watching some games, and I said that I love the stack of Micah Parsons and the Dallas defense because that's double points every single time Parsons gets a sack.
Yeah.
Or if he strips the ball, forces a fumble, whatever the case may be.
Similar to a quarterback, wide receiver stack, the IDP defense stack.
That's by design. That's by design.
This guy's really trying this year. He wants the monkey off his back. He wants that belt. It's the ultimate shut up to everyone else. It'd be nice to have all 3 members of this podcast with the belts. That'd be cool.
That'd be great.
Moving on to number 2, got Camille here. Rich in talent. I get it. This team name, I understand. I get this one. Rich in talent. Anthony Richardson. That's your quarterback. Rich in talent, not really a pun. I just think it's kind of silly. Like, okay, whatever. That's the team name. Great team overall. Anthony Richardson, if he can stay healthy, is a top 5 quarterback. He might be the next big thing. With his dual threat ability, certainly in fantasy, that helps tremendously. I do like his RB1, Derrick Henry. I love his dub R1, CeeDee Lamb, who I had last year. He's got some great depth behind those big 3, and that's what we look for in this league, in a 12-person league. If you've got a big 3 and some decent depth, some decent playmakers, legitimate playmaking guys behind your 3 consistent stars, you're going to make the playoffs. So I'm big on Camille's team. He also has Aaron Rodgers. He does have Malik Neighbors in New York. Not a great offense, but kind of a legitimate playmaker.
Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones. I think you said Aaron Rodgers.
Sorry, I think. Yep, Aaron Jones. Appreciate that. He also has Marvin Harrison Jr., who maybe not a great team, but a legitimate playmaker down to Arizona who's going to throw the ball more. Still got Godwin on the bench, DeAndre Hopkins on the bench.
He has a lot invested in Marvin Harrison Jr. He drafted him in, I think, the 3rd round, second or third round when we were looking back at it. So he definitely needs him to pan out. But yeah, I'm with you.
The fact that he's not like reliant on Marvin Harrison Jr. is really big.
Can I offer up? And I just talked about how I don't like a midseason name change, but I think we want more creativity out of this, right?
Doesn't feel that creative.
It doesn't. Camille, if you're listening, and I hope you are, and or watching.
He did ask. He wanted to know.
He did. So this allows you to still keep, your shout out to Anthony Richardson. Also, Rich Homie Quan, the rapper, just unfortunately passed away. You saw a lot of players hitting the Quan in the end zone last week when they scored. You could change your name to Rich Homie Camille, and I think that'd be pretty cool.
I'd like it better than Rich in Talent. I'll tell you that.
Sure.
And then that brings us to the number 1 ranked team in my power rankings after week 1 is going to be the Scrappers, or aptly named Scrapdoor. Another team name not a lot of people are into this year, but Scrapdoor.
Yeah, well, I'm
you've got a
running
theme
out
with
of
the
Star Wars spin-offs. Yeah, and having never seen the show Andor, I don't even know if it's all that great or if it makes sense. But
I've heard good things.
We're working with. Okay, so there we go. For everyone who doesn't know, Scrapdoor is because of the show Andor, where I assume I'm not even going to actually assume what happens in that show and make fool of myself. However, I don't know, fits the squad, whatever. My team they're scrappy guys, right? Kind of been the players who I target. Already talked about always going after running backs who are also going to be, worth like 0.5 of a wide receiver slot. So hopefully Gibbs and Etienne each have 40 or 50 catches at the end of the year. I like seeing Stephon Diggs' involvement in the Houston Texans offense. I think that Nico Collins will continue to be a deep threat, as will Tank Dell. So they can take the top off of defense and let Stephon be crafty and work the soft spots of his own. He gets only 33 yards this past week, but 6 catches and 2 touchdowns. So I think he's going to be a red zone target for CJ Stroud for sure. I like that. Xavier Worthy, kind of like this, we're talking about Jaden Reed. We're talking about these guys who are electric. Anytime they touch the ball, they can take it to the crib. So fastest 40 time ever at the combine. Love having Worthy on my team to stack with Mahomes. And then, just other guys like Pickens. Been a fan, obviously. Kincaid's been a tight end who I've rostered in Dynasty for a long time. Sutton, just as some added depth on the bench. But having guys like Tony Pollard, I'm excited about. Jacoby Myers, I'm not ready to cut bait on quite yet because I believe in Gardner Minshew and the Vegas offense to be productive, if not always competitive, in real life football. And then, we made a smart play last week and sat the Baltimore defense, which I drafted, and picked up the Minnesota defense off waivers, and they go off for 21 points because they played the Giants. Here's my pro tip for episode 1: stream defenses that are playing against the Panthers and the Giants, at least to begin this season. So that really helped me get the win. I needed every single 10th of a point to beat Max this week. He left points on the board with guys having fumbles. Kenneth Walker had a touchdown that got called back because of penalty. But also, I look at my roster. TJ Watt had a strip sack fumble recovery that got called back because of just an egregious penalty and a blown call by the refs that they even admitted to TJ at halftime of that game, I suppose. So 127, and with guys like Dalton Kincaid only catching 1 pass, Patrick Mahomes scoring 14 points. Dare I say this wasn't a ceiling performance? So I'm not trying to be too high on my team. However, I look at them top to bottom, and I had guys getting in the end zone. I had guys not hitting their ceiling. However, other guys, did boom. Like, I'm not expecting Xavier Worthy to have nearly 20 points each week, or for my defense to have 20 points each week. But I like my chances to put up, 115 to 135 each week. So excited about it after week 1.
Yeah, hopefully you guys can hear me. I know my picture's frozen. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, that rounds out the power rankings. It's I'll admit, a little frustrating to see your team back at number 1 again. A historical winner in this year. So good luck. It is only week 1. It's a lot can change. We're still getting to know our teams. And with that, we're running a long episode here, but let's briefly get into the waiver report. Maybe just touch on the the bids above 10, and then we'll talk about the trade. There's already been a trade in week 1.
There's already been a trade, and there was already just a ton of money spent. So I'm really just going to go through, the like high dollar amount acquisitions here. So like Skunk Boy Part 2 picks up Alexander Mattinson, familiar face, new place. He's with the Raiders now, kind of in a timeshare with Zamir White. And so we'll see how that pans out. But he did have a nice catch and run for a touchdown this past week. So of course, on the ESPN projections, it looks like he's going to be productive. So an $11 acquisition there from Skunk Boy. when his name is Tank Bigsby had put in for him as well. Some defenses and some other things, wide receivers getting picked up for $6, things like that. Won't touch on it. But his name is Tank Bigsby does go out and get Tank Bigsby. I myself had put in a $16 bid for him. Blaine and we've texted about this already. I let him know that in my head, I was thinking there was either going to be a $15 bid for him or a $20 bid for him. So I was trying to outsmart a $15 bid by bidding 16, which you can all see I did. Blaine, I think going after the namesake, knowing that I myself, this is what he said to me, having Travis Etienne might want the backup. He was like, I'm going to bump it up to 20. So had I had gone with the $21 bid, I would have got him. So that was a fun little game within the game that happened on the waivers there between Blaine and I. But yeah, I'm happy to see him back with, if he's going to go anywhere else other than the team that rosters Travis Etienne, he should go back to the person who put him on the map,
Named his team after him.
Yeah,
his whole fantasy career.
Exactly. But then I think that the big one, and we can just kind of put a pin in it after this, because 4 teams went after Isaiah Likely after that, kind of star-making performance that he had in the opening kickoff game this week. Over 100 yards, easily could have had 2 touchdowns if he just pulls that foot back in the end zone line there a little bit. And so Chun, for some reason, thought he could get him for $1. I mean, are you playing?
Talk about Chunder achieving.
Yeah, Chunder achieving on the waiver wire. All Tuds, no Chuds goes after him for 10. Now that's where I wish I would have seen a more aggressive waiver claim, because I'm pretty sure that Andy owns or
Mark
I should say
Andrews.
rosters Mark Andrews. So, I think Andrews will still be fine. However, if you want to alleviate a headache or maybe flex them both in a week, you got to be willing to spend more than just 10% of your budget on him. Brees be with you. Max, you were willing to spend 20% of your budget, but not go any higher than your $21 bid. And then ultimately, Isaiah Likely does go to Camille. The rich get richer in talent, but it does come at a price, $27. So over a quarter of Camille's fab is gone already.
And obviously Isaiah Likely had an amazing game, and he, it's not like he's come out of nowhere, because he had some big games last year as well, or at least some contributions. However, I don't know if this is a true changing of the guard. I would have to look at snap counts between Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely.
They were pretty even. Same with routes run.
The thing about this is that the Ravens' offensive line is so bad and so young that they're using Mark Andrews as another left tackle. I mean, that when you go back and watch the tape, that's what he's doing most of those snaps, is blocking.
Yeah, and he is older and coming off an injury, so route running is not going to be as good.
Isaiah's going to have a lot more of an opportunity to be a receiving weapon on this team.
Also, I don't think the production will match what we saw in week 1. And I'm not saying that Camille and or anybody else who bid on him was assuming that either. But you have to be cognizant of the situation in the game script that the Ravens were facing in week 1. They were not favored to win that game. Chiefs were a +3 favorite from Vegas. And so it's not going to be often that the Ravens are behind in games and have to throw. What they want to do is pound the rock with Derrick Henry. Yeah, King Henry fell into the end zone, but it wasn't like a signature Derrick Henry game where he has 24 rushes for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. Lamar's going to be busy on the ground. Sooner or later, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, guys like that will get maybe not like really involved and even to the point of fantasy relevancy. But like this was kind of the perfect everything. It was a perfect storm for somebody like Isaiah Likely with Mark Andrews coming off an injury. And I believe he was like in a car crash too over summer, which kind of limited his participation in OTAs and in preseason and the way he could rehab. Right. So is this his best game of the season? Maybe. But is he worth rostering? Like 100%, of course. So we'll see. And we know
Especially
tight
if
ends
you
have
don't have a tight
historically
end.
been a shallow position. So
Cool. Does that mean we're ready to talk about the trade, the big trade, the week 1 trade?
yeah, let's pull in Max here, because I feel like this is part of you also turning a new leaf, coming back as the sole manager of your team. Terry McLaurin, a guy who you have historically been tied to. We kind of all have our guys, right? I think that everyone would agree that, like, Terry McLaurin, that's a Max guy. Zero emotion. He's on the block and traded after week 1.
Yeah, my thought process here was volume. And listen, Jaden Daniels is a hell of an athlete. He's going to be running for his life all season long. He's going to put up big numbers on the ground over there in Washington. But he barely even looked at Terry this past week. And yeah, Tampa Bay is a playoff team. It's a good team. Washington's not a good team. But instead of trying to guess when a good Terry McLaurin game is going to happen, and then not being able to move him in 4 weeks, I decided I'm just go find someone who will give me at least volume.
No, I thought you were going to say a manager who will just be suckered into a bad trade.
Well, that too. I mean, listen, Chun, the way he values players are how big their names are in the lights. So Terry McLaurin for Tyler Lockett, I think it was a no-brainer for him. And I having Tyler Lockett as a volume guy on the bench, as someone I can plug in during bye weeks, feels a lot better than boom or bust with Terry. So yeah, that was the thought process there. We'll see if it works out. Terry's playing the Giants this week. He's probably going to go off, but he'll be Chun's headache now. And Chun's got like 8 wide receivers. He's got to choose between 3 spots to put up now. So
sound reasoning to me.
Yeah.
If you ask me, sound reasoning.
It sounds good. Sounds good. Sounds like you've thought out. Obviously, you're very intentional this year as you return to manage your team. I appreciate that. And so I don't doubt anything that you just said. I guess my perception, and on the other side of things, probably Chun's perception too, and this could be outdated, but Terry McLaurin is traditionally the first option in that passing game.
He's the only option. There's no one else.
Even better. So you talk about volume, who are they going to throw the ball to?
Nobody. The running backs. All Jaden
was
doing
gonna
was
throw
either
the ball. It's
scrambling or
they're going to throw the ball because they're not good either. So they're going to be behind.
Terry McLaurin's going to get doubled up every single game. He's going to get doubled up every single game.
You talk about volume. My turn. I'm talking. Thank you. My turn. I'm talking. Thank you. Sound familiar? All right.
Your lights.
Terry McLaurin is the number 1 wide receiver on that team.
Yeah,
Tyler Lockett is the 3rd or 4th option in our offense. So when you talk about volume for Tyler Lockett, it doesn't make sense because he is the boomer bust player. Tyler Lockett is the boomer bust player.
I disagree.
He is not your volume wide receiver.
I disagree.
Look at the facts. Look at the history.
I disagree.
It's been 1 week.
There's also already rumors of Terry McLaurin wanting to be traded, wanting to get out of Washington. That is a bad situation. Jaden Daniels is a rookie running back or rookie quarterback.
I'm just offering the other perception. You had your chance to make your case. You made your case.
Hey, man. Yeah. I tried to package Terry with a couple other players to some other managers, and everyone declined. So I'm excited about Tyler Lockett. Can't wait.
Case. I'm not saying good. You should be. It's not a bad trade. I said sound reasoning. I just offered you probably Chun's perspective and another perspective that Terry McLaurin is going to get more volume than Tyler Lockett.
I disagree with that.
Good luck. Moving on.
I don't know.
Let's go into game of the week. Get the hell out of here.
All right, game of the week is going to be between the Commissioners and damn it, Bobby. And I'm excited for this because historically, you're very kind on Bobby when it comes to critiquing his team. You're always glass half full with this guy. So I'm curious, after week 1, coming off a loss, Bobby's coming off a loss as well. Are you going for the throat? Are you going for the jugular? How important is it to get off the schneid here and beat your bud?
It's funny that you say that. Can we get some game of the week music? What happened here? This guy stormed off because I critiqued his trade.
He's
quit on the job.
He's composing a lock.
We don't have any game of the week music.
Okay.
That's put in post, if you remember correctly.
Say that again.
Let's put in post. Let's put in post.
We don't do the live. Thank you. All right. It's funny that you say I'm light on Bobby. Damn it, Bobby. You kind of have to baby this guy. I know he's got a tattooed arm sleeve and, he's kind of stoic golfer and a stoic guy, but he's sensitive down there. And if you even say anything about his team, I'm going to hear about it. So that's why I try to lighten the load a little bit.
Okay.
Am I going to be light this week? Hell no. Although I'm not terribly confident that I could beat this game. He's obviously got all the check marks. He's projected by 2 points for whatever that's worth. But if we're looking at the matchups here.
Yeah, and just high projections. I mean, another reason why we put this up there is because it's not often that you see two teams projected over 120.
Yeah, I mean, I think that goes to show that there is a higher ceiling on these teams. We both have good teams, and the fact that one of us is going to be 0-2 at the end of week 2 is another reason why I think it's a lot high stakes here early in the season for a week 2 game. It does give him the check mark on. Again, I think it's wrong. I guess it's a close check mark, but he has Aaron Rodgers having the advantage over Jared Goff this week, even though Aaron Rodgers is playing at Tennessee on the road. Jared Goff has Tampa Bay in the Dome at home, and not as quite good of a team. Tennessee, I don't know what their defense is going to look like thus far this year, but typically a bit tougher.
And Rodgers is coming off a short week too, right? They played Monday night, so just another reason.
I think I would give myself the edge at the quarterback position there.
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor has to go into Green Bay. Green Bay is coming off, a loss as well. Where I have Saquon, where I have a home game against Atlanta. I think I get the check mark there. I don't know what ESPN is fucking ranking these projections off of, but I think I get the check mark on Goff and Saquon. Najee has to go to Denver on the road. He's got Pacheco in Cincinnati. That's probably a wash. I'm not sure. Maybe it's a check mark for Pacheco. So. I can give that up. Devontae in Baltimore. That's going to be tough. The Raiders better get their fucking shit together. Minshew, go Cougs. Come on, baby. Get that offense rolling. Throw the ball to Devontae. He's still got it. He's 31, 32. Still can run one of the best routes. People highly respected. Come on, Devontae. Will Cooper Kupp keep his production against Arizona? It's a divisional game. Probably. He's the guy. So I'll give the check mark for Cooper there. Calvin Ridley is not the same guy. He's in Tennessee. Who's throwing him the ball? Not the same offense. Calvin Ridley really had what? Did he have one good year? This guy has been unhealthy, unavailable. Did he even make the Pro Bowl his one good year? I'm not sure what the hype is about Calvin Ridley, but I'll gladly take Deebo Samuel over him. Evan Ingram, hopefully, we'll have a bounce back week here, but at least it's at home, but Cleveland has a good defense. Travis Kelce, I'm not going to do better than that. Travis Kelce gets check mark there. Ramondre Stevenson against Seattle. Pittman, what is that, Green Bay? That could be a wash. I'm not sure. I know that obviously Ramondre had a much better week 1, but Seattle has a really great defense. I think Pittman can bounce back. Not sure. And then specialty positions are probably just a coin flip. Who knows? Hopefully I can win. I think it'll be close. I'm not sure. What do you guys think?
It's tough to say specialty positions are a coin flip because he's got the Jets defense going against Tennessee.
Saints defense.
Oh yeah, my screen got flipped to something else here. Yeah, I mean, he has Saints defense going against Dallas. I think Dallas puts up a ton of points against the Saints, and that's like a shootout, especially because that game is in Dallas. Whereas you have San Francisco going against their old guy, Sam Darnold. Now, that's one of those things where, Darnold's going to be hyped to play his own team, but San Fran, all 11 guys are going to be looking to put Sam Darnold in the dirt. So I think you have a huge edge when it comes to the specialty positions, which are usually anchored by your defense special teams.
Might come down to that. Probably will. So are you going to predict that I win this one?
I mean, you just kind of went through them. You just kind of went through everything. I don't really have too much more to say. I think it probably will come down to those running backs that you mentioned earlier, where Saquon outperforms Jonathan Taylor, I think. But then, like, can Najee get into the end zone versus Pacheco, who probably will get into the end zone? You know, the Chiefs didn't really run the ball as much as I think they would have liked to week 1. But again, I think that was just a schematic thing going against the Ravens. And so I think probably whoever wins their running back total between the two of you, and I'm not even really looking at the flex positions, Ramondre and Pittman probably can wash each other out. Normally I'd give the edge to Ramondre, but I do think that the front 7 for the Seahawks playing really well, and they'll be able to keep the run game in check, and kind of dare. Who's even the quarterback for New England? Is it Jacoby Brissett? I'm going to dare Jacoby Brissett to beat them, which is
I'm looking for a prediction.
Yeah. Well, I'm giving it to you. Here.
Right.
But I also don't think that it's as high as ESPN has it. I think this could be like it's probably going to be about 10 points less than what the projections have it here. I think this is going to be kind of a grinded out, scrappy affair between the two of you.
That's why it's game of the week. We'll see. I'm picking myself as well.
Max, you gonna weigh in?
Max, want to weigh in?
Yeah. I think Tim's team is far superior to what Bobby's putting out there. Okay. Isaiah Pacheco, that's going to be lucky if he gets the 14 points. You hope Cooper Kupp can continue to do what he does, but now that Puka is out and he's the only one there, he's going to get doubled up. Calvin Ridley is on a really bad team. And Aaron Rodgers is 40 years old. You've got a sure thing in Saquon, Devontae, Debo is going to continue to get more opportunities, especially running the ball without Christian McCaffrey. And that 49ers defense, that might be the best team in the league.
Love it. Love that. Glad we made up. That's great. All right. There you have it, folks.
There's no making up to be.
Okay. We're still mad at each other, apparently. All right. That's been an hour and a half. Hour and a half of week 1. Thank you for all that you do back there backstage. Thanks for being my co-host. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being in this league. Set your lineups, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Bye, homies.